The population of South Sudan is around 11 million, and 1.9 million of those have been impacted by this crisis. It's massive displacement. South Sudan is a poor country anyway. People have fled their homes, mostly they're poor farmers. So they've left their cattle have often been killed, they've left crops behind and haven't been able to plant new crops. A number of them are living in protection of civilian camps around UN compounds where they've just come to be safe. I was in South Sudan a few weeks ago and visited one of those, a place called Bentiu in Unity State. And I have to say it was some of the most difficult living conditions that I've ever seen in my life. Looking out of the aeroplane, you could see all these temporary huts that had been thrown up, and they looked as though they were in the middle of the lake because actually this whole area in the rainy season had become flooded. Of course, if you're living in this sort of condition, you're subject to diarrhea, to malaria. So CARE is running health clinics there, providing feeding for malnourished children, and we'd also helped to build latrines, toilets, so to try and reduce the impact of disease in this area. Speaking to some of the people, they were emphasising that it was, they would love to leave, but it wasn't safe for them to leave these areas. Had suffered horribly just getting there. One old man said to me, "This is not what we want, bring our leaders here to speak, to see what we are suffering." And it really, there needs to be a lot more international pressure on the parties to the peace talks, and that there's assistance for people who are suffering a huge amount of trauma and struggling to stay alive. Well, the Australian government has donated funds for the humanitarian effort. We very much hope that they'll continue to provide funds and indeed increase funds. Whilst South Sudan might be a long way from Australia, nevertheless, this is a massive crisis. And of course, we have a significant number of South Sudanese Australians, so it seems reasonable to say that this should be a crisis that Australia, as a good global citizen, will provide further significant support to the humanitarian needs in South Sudan.